They thought they could silence him with HOA rules, but they didn't know he was a lawyer ready to fight back. Family, before we dive into this powerful story, I need you to pause right now and hit that subscribe button. Why? Because the stories we bring you aren't just entertainment. These are lessons, warnings, and reflections of the struggles our people continue to face every single day. If you want the truth, the raw, uncut truth, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss a moment. Now, let's get into it. It was a warm Saturday morning in Oak Ridge Meadows, a gated suburban community on the edge of Atlanta. The streets were lined with pristine two-story homes, manicured lawns, and driveways filled with polished SUVs. It looked like the picture of peace and order. But behind the white picket fences, not everyone welcomed change. That morning, Marcus Reed, a 42-year-old black father of two, pulled into his new driveway with a U-Haul truck. His wife, Danielle, stepped out, holding their 7-year-old daughter Kayla's hand. Their teenage son, Jaden, hopped out with headphones draped around his neck. Marcus smiled wide as he looked at the home. "This is it, y'all. Our new beginning." Danielle kissed him on the cheek. "You worked hard for this, baby. We deserve it." But as boxes were unloaded across the street, blinds shifted. Neighbors whispered, and on the corner, a man in khaki shorts with a clipboard scribbled notes. His name was Richard Coleman, the HOA president. To Richard, Marcus's family wasn't just new neighbors. They were a threat, a disruption to what he called the character of the neighborhood. He muttered under his breath, "Not on my watch." 3 days later, Marcus came home from work to find a bright yellow slip taped to his front door. HOA violation notice. Lawn not trimmed to community standards. Trash bins visible from street. Unauthorized basketball hoop in driveway. Marcus sighed, shaking his head. The grass was barely an inch taller than the neighbors. The trash bin was there because pickup was that morning. And the hoop? It was for Jaden. That evening, Marcus knocked on Richard Coleman's door, violation notice in hand. Richard opened with a fake smile. Mr. Reed. Problem?" "Yes," Marcus said firmly. "I just moved in 3 days ago. This notice is ridiculous." Richard crossed his arms. "Rules are rules. We like to maintain a certain standard here." Marcus caught the emphasis. "Standard." Richard's smile thinned. "This neighborhood was built on tradition. We don't want things looking out of place." Danielle later whispered to Marcus, "He doesn't mean the lawn, Marcus. He means us." Marcus brushed it off for now. Weeks turned into months. Every other day, Marcus received another violation. Car parked too long in driveway. Children playing too loudly. Curtains not matching community palette. Meanwhile, white neighbors had trampolines, overgrown hedges, and cracked driveways with no issues. The final straw came one Saturday. Marcus was hosting a cookout for his church group. Burgers sizzled, kids laughed, music played softly. That's when Richard showed up, with 2 HOA board members in tow. "This gathering is unauthorized," Richard announced loudly, clipboard in hand. "Your guests are blocking the street. This is a violation." Marcus clenched his jaw. "It's a family cookout. Everyone's parked legally." Richard smirked. "You people always think the rules don't apply." The yard went silent. Danielle gasped. Jaden's fist balled up. Marcus stared Richard dead in the eyes. "Watch your words." But Richard just grinned. "I'll see you in court." Family, let me pause here. If you've been following this story and your blood is already boiling, that's exactly why we tell these stories. Because this isn't just Marcus's fight. It's the fight of every black family who's ever been told they don't belong. If you feel that, hit that subscribe button right now so we can keep pushing these truths into the light. Now, back to Marcus's battle. Weeks later, a certified letter arrived. The HOA had filed a lawsuit against Marcus, claiming he had violated 12 different community rules and demanding fines totaling $15,000. Danielle broke down in tears. "We can't afford this. They're trying to force us out." Marcus sat quietly, looking at the papers. And then he chuckled. "Baby, they don't know who they're messing with." Because Marcus Reed wasn't just a father. He wasn't just a new homeowner. He was also a civil rights attorney. Marcus walked into the courtroom weeks later, wearing a crisp navy suit. The HOA board sat smugly with their lawyer, expecting an easy win. Richard leaned back, arms folded, smirking. But when Marcus introduced himself as defense counsel, for himself, Richard's smile faltered. Your Honor, Marcus began, this case isn't about lawn care or trash bins. It's about discrimination, selective enforcement, harassment. He pulled out photos of neighbors' homes with visible violations, none of whom had ever been fined. He played recordings of Richard's words. You people always think the rules don't apply. Gasps filled the courtroom. Richard's face turned pale. Marcus leaned in, voice steady. This HOA is not protecting property values. It's weaponizing rules to drive out a black family. And we will not stand for it. The judge's eyes narrowed at Richard. Mr. Coleman, you have some explaining to do. After hours of testimony, the judge ruled in Marcus's favor. The HOA's fines were dismissed. Instead, the HOA was ordered to pay Marcus's legal fees and fine for discriminatory practices. Danielle hugged Marcus tightly, tears of relief streaming down her face. The courtroom erupted in whispers. For the first time, Richard looked small, humiliated. Marcus turned to him, voice low. Next time you try to push a black family out, remember this day. Justice had been served. But as the family walked out of the courthouse, Marcus's phone buzzed with a private number. He answered cautiously. A voice on the other end said, You think this is over? You just made enemies in this community. The line went dead. Marcus's smile faded. The fight was far from finished. Family, let that sink in. Justice was served today, but the war isn't over. How many times have we celebrated small victories, only to face even bigger battles? That's why we need to keep these conversations alive. So please, like, comment, share, and most importantly, subscribe to the Untold Struggles. Because our voices matter, and the struggle continues.